Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Rapid Response Fundraising. My name is Chris, and I will be your host today with the Mobile Cause team. We've got some terrific guest speakers, as well as our own Jeremy Koenig, talking to you all about rapid response fundraising. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. You will see on the lower left there, or the whole left portion of your screen, the chat window. If you have any questions, we will be holding about 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions. So as we are proceeding with the webinar, feel free to type your questions directly into the chat, and myself and all of my co-presenters will get those questions. Also, we are recording this webinar, and we will be sending out a link for you to view, listen, watch the recording, as well as download the slides, so you can review anything you might have missed, share with a colleague or two. So please stand by for that. And again, quickly, without further ado, we got some great presenters. We've got Portia Nicholas McCoy from the Arrowhead United Way, Liesl Gray Manon from Don't Forget to Feed Me Pet Food Bank, as well as her colleague Emily Jackson, and my very own Jeremy Koenig. And I'm going to kick things off very quickly. We've got a great agenda for all of you today. So we're looking forward to presenting some great real world, case stories of how others have dealt with rapid response fundraising, provide you with some insights on how people are using the Mobile Cause platform to do so. So to kick things off, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jeremy Koenig, who's going to talk to you about what is rapid response fundraising. Welcome, Jeremy.
Great. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction, and hello and welcome to everyone on the call. We are very excited to kick off a new year of webinars and excellence in fundraising for all of our customers. The first thing that we wanted to do in this webinar is really define what rapid response fundraising is. A lot of nonprofits may think that rapid response fundraising is just for disasters and for international and national things that happen, and the reality is that donations are the lifeblood of educational, faith-based, health, and all types of charitable organizations. And every organization out there, every single nonprofit that's on the call, no matter what segment, will experience a situation where if you guys need funds as soon as possible. Here's the truth of the matter. The faster you raise money, the faster your organization can do good. And the reality is that the mobile phone has fundamentally changed the way that we can raise money. Smartphones and online commerce have made it so that you can effectively engage and raise donations from anyone in the world. Here at Mobile Cause, our team of fundraising experts and software developers have literally supported tens of thousands of successful campaigns. And amidst all those huge successes and some failures that we were not expecting, we believe we have identified 4 essentials of fundraising that will help drive maximum awareness, participation, and donations across every type of campaign. So I'm just going to get right into those. And again, we believe that this year in 2016, your organizations, if you just follow these 4 essentials, you will be set up for success in your campaign. So the first essential is effective branding. When I comb through the thousands and thousands of fundraising campaigns in our system, one of the things that I can consistently see is campaigns that have a brand identity are far more successful, specifically when they have a name, they have a logo, they have consistent colors and imagery, and they have clear goals and dates. Here's an example from St. Thomas Academy, a K through 12 for their Day of Giving. The second essential is compelling storytelling. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of being able to passionately tell your story with short videos, photos, and testimonials that you will essentially use to promote across all your digital and print channels. Here's a great example from Special Olympics of Oregon, a great compelling PSA that is designed to get volunteers and staff and donors all excited about what's going on. The third essential is making it easy to give. It is more important than ever that your donation form is a one-click load on a PC experience, a click of a link in social media, email and text, which loads a mobile-friendly donation form, as well as a one-click donation experience in Facebook, which you can now embed a donation form in Facebook. We cannot emphasize this enough. Over half of the traffic to your website is on a mobile device. And more often than not, your donors are researching your organization on their smartphones. A couple of the high-level points that are really important to look for is the fact that their donation forms need to be mobile responsive. They need to resize, really important. Donation pages need to be secure, which means that you have HTTPS in the URL. This enables Apple and Android autofill, and it creates a good and confident donor experience. In terms of capturing data, it's actually important to have minimal taps or clicks to reduce the abandon rate. You want people to be excited to give and then to be able to give easily, and you collect the data you need for future campaigns. And then lastly, it's really important, myself and Lysol were just talking about how there still are a huge chunk of your donors that want to mail checks, that want to give cash, that want to call you and give you their credit card number over the phone. It's really important to have clear offline giving instructions. The fourth essential is make it easy to advocate. One of the things that we have been learning, that we learned in 2015, is that millennials, specifically supporters under the age of 35, their absolute favorite way to donate is through crowdfunding, and they tend to donate to causes that they are participating in. So making it very easy for this demographic, but more broadly all demographics, to be able to become fundraisers by setting up crowdfunding pages and sign up for things like volunteer opportunities and events easily on any device is incredibly important. And what you're doing is you're driving better engagement, more donations, with less administrative support. I'm very excited to introduce our two speakers today, or Chris will introduce them, because they are world-class fundraisers, world-class communicators, and they do it with a really small budget and a really small team. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Thanks, Jeremy. And I think that's very critical for everyone on the call to know, and that's usually what we find in these webinars is everyone's, goes through, they sees all these fantastic learnings and they wonder, well, how can I do this by myself? Or how can I do this with, a part-time volunteer? And I think both of our examples are terrific points that underscore the fact that it's really easy to do with a very small team. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our first speaker, Portia Nichols-McCoy, who's the Resource Development Professional at Arrowhead United Way. And she's going to talk to us about how they partnered with the San Bernardino County Board to set up a relief fund in response to the December 2nd shootings in San Bernardino. They set a very minimal initial goal and have far exceeded that. And so welcome, Portia. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Chris. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about, what prompted you, and when you and I were speaking, tell us a little bit about, how this originated for you and where you were and what transpired that day.
So when the shootings occurred on December 2nd at the Inland Regional Center here in San Bernardino, California, I was actually out of the office at a community meeting in Colton. Colton's actually a local city that's not far from San Bernardino, and it falls under the area in which we fundraise for Arrowhead United Way. And during the course of that meeting, I actually had no idea what transpired outside. I think my first clue that something was, happening is when the meeting ended early and it ended in prayer. And that was my first time actually going to that meeting, but I was like, that's a little different. And then so it wasn't until like a couple of text messages and phone calls later that I found out there was actually a mass shooting. And at that particular time, the shooters were still actually out, on the loose, so they hadn't caught them yet. And the moment I realized the gravity of this situation, I ran back to the office and obviously carefully picking my route as well because the shooters were still on the loose at that time. And so began to put a plan together for the relief fund. And one of the very first things that I did was really assess the people and tools that we already had in place that could assist with putting this relief fund together. And because I knew we had to do it very quickly to make sure that we were ready for any opportunity to help those in need. And one of the first tools that we actually did identify was mobile calls because we needed a platform to collect electronic donations and, something that was easy. And so, Arrowhead United Way has actually been serving the community, this area, for 125 years. This is our 125th year, 2016. And so there's a legacy here, and creating this fund is something that we had to do. Our mission statement is actually to improve lives by engaging the caring power of communities. And this was a time where our community had to pull together more than ever, and we were able to facilitate that unity as Arrowhead United Way.
And now tell us a little bit about, setting the goal. Like, I mean, how did you go about doing that, and where did that go from there?
Setting the goal, that was actually interesting. When it was time to set a goal for the SB United campaign, we really didn't know where to start. In the past, we've used mobile calls for our school supply drive, which happens in the summer. And our last drive we did, which was the first one we actually did with mobile calls, we raised about $4,300. So using that as kind of a starting point, we're like, okay, well, where should we go from here for this particular event? And so our very first initial goal, we set a goal of $10,000. Now, obviously, in hindsight, that has changed a lot. I would think we received our first donation of $10 approximately 24 hours after the fund was initially launched. And then on the second day, or day one, I should say, because I kind of consider the day of the event, December 2nd, as day zero. So day one, December 3rd, we received about $1,200 in donation from about 20 people. And then on day two, we received $3,000 from about 60 people. So we're still kind of like, okay, I think our goal might be working. Maybe this is where we need to be. But then on December 5th, we received $8,000 from about 160 people. And I think on day three is when we realized just how big this might grow to be. At that point, we had solidified our partnership with San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors. And so it just really grew exponentially from there. And ever since then, we've increased our donation several times, and right now we're resting at about $1.5 million for our online donations. And what you see online is a combination of our online and our offline. So we've added on there so people can see what donations we have. I think we have about $185,000 that was actually collected through mobile calls.
I mean, that's just amazing. And I think, that we can't underscore that enough. And so maybe, again, just how long, I mean, it seems, how long did it take you to really set up the ability to receive these donations? How long did it take, and how many people at the organization did it take to do it?
It took us, just a couple hours. I mean, I say a couple hours because it took us time to come up with the graphics and things of that nature. But the mobile calls part was, a few minutes. We just, we picked our keyword and picked the text number, put it on the website, created that, and then once we had the graphics approved, we put that up, and then we were able to go. So I think it took about a couple hours in total to be ready.
That's amazing. And would you say that one of the reasons why the county partnered with you, I mean, in addition to being the United Way and some of your previous relationships with the county, that it seemed like one of the reasons why everyone pointed to you as the fund for people to give is because you were ready, right? Is that right? A little bit, because nobody else had a resource to receive donations that quickly?
Yeah, so when it comes to our partnership with the county, number one, the county is aware of our involvement and our visibility in the community. They know they can trust us, so I believe that's why they felt comfortable in identifying us as the organization they wanted to work with. And actually, at the time of the shooting, we actually just completed our workplace campaign with the county. And so I think overall, the fact that you had two strong brands that were working together to raise funds for those affected by the shooting, it really helped in getting donors to gravitate towards our fund. And so having that partner definitely did help. And when we did receive the phone call from the county, looking to partner, I was able to tell them, hey, we actually already started the fund. So we shared information, and they signed off on things, and we signed off on things, and we were able to move forward. So, it took no time to get that moving. And so I think what also helped, too, is that we were able to share with donors that Arrowhead United Way is not taking any fees from the donations because, as nonprofits in general, you tend to have an admin fee when, you process, donations of that nature, or not that nature, but just in general. And so we wanted to make sure that was clear in our messaging as well, that, Arrowhead United Way is not taking anything. We're here to help the community.
Right. Fantastic. And now, we've got a lot of questions coming in. Everyone, please continue to submit the questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can during the Q&A session shortly. Want to provide, as much value to all of you as possible. And I think, so Portia has some great insights on, a couple of points. One, how did you approach sort of messaging around this, given that, it is a tragedy, and it is, of course, an opportunity to raise funds for the community. How did you sort of handle the messaging, that you were developing for this campaign?
Well, delicately. In situations like this, messaging is very important, and I think we learned that right away. As a fundraiser, a person, nonprofit, trying to get funds, you're often taught, be happy, excited, and, get people excited about fundraising. But and that method is great when you're talking about raising money for, school books and school supplies and things of that nature. But when you have this type of event that happens, your energy and your approach to it has to change a little bit. And so we, had to, one, sit down and be very careful to understand what our messaging would look like so people understood exactly where the money would go, because that's the other thing as well. You want to honor your donor's intention. So if your message is not clear, the donor may misunderstand, and then when it's time to distribute the funds, they may have some commentary on that. And so, number one, when it came to messaging, we wanted to make sure people understood that this fund was going to go to help those affected by the shooting, which includes families of those who were deceased. It could be the injured. There were over 90 people in that room. People who didn't get shot but were in the room would also need some type of assistance, whether it be financial or counseling. So we wanted to make sure that people understand it's about those who are affected so that we can support our community holistically. And then also, we want to, again, with that message of understanding that people know that 100% of donations that we receive will go to the fund. So we wanted to make sure we honor that when it came to our messaging.
And now, how would you say, obviously, I'm sure, we hopefully don't have, other, situations of this scale. So how would you, talk to those that may be attending that are thinking, well, I don't have something like this in my community, but there are things that are happening every day in communities that are urgent. They may not be national news, they may not, involve this scale of tragedy, but they're urgent. And how would, what lessons do you have that you could sort of, apply to those? Maybe they're just raising money for a new gymnasium or a family in need or something to that effect. I mean, what sort of tactics do you think could apply to those situations as well?
Well, the thing is, unfortunately, as nonprofits, we often have really tight budgets, and as a result, from what I've seen, a lot of nonprofits don't invest in technology as much as they probably should. And there's other nonprofits that have the mindset of, well, we've been doing like this for 20 years. Why do we have to change now? And so I would say to those nonprofits that really now is the time that you should, really assess what tools you have in place to respond to a natural disaster or a mass shooting or whatever it may be. Because unfortunately, in the time we live in, it's not necessarily a question of if it will happen again. It's a question of when and where. And so that question is, will it be in your city or your neighboring city, And so you want to make sure that you already have that technology in place to respond quickly. Now, we had signed up for mobile calls back in, I think, July of last year. So our tools were in place. I mean, I can't imagine what we would have had to do if we didn't have mobile calls set up already to respond to this. Now, perhaps you don't have this magnitude of an event to respond to, but it's necessary, or it would be something that I would suggest that people should use if they have smaller events, even if it's a car wash, because you can use mobile calls in so many different ways as far as collecting funds. One of the events that happened here in San Bernardino to fundraise was a food truck and blood drive, and they sold tickets for the food truck. But when it came to processing electronic payment, they used our platform. So that's one of the that was one of the benefits we really realized when it came to mobile calls at the fundraising page, because they were able to take a fundraising page and develop their own with their branding. And then on the day of, they had tablets that they were able to process the donation through the tablet on their fundraising page. And then people who wanted to pay with their credit card for the tickets could do that right on the spot. And it was a way where they can measure their direct impact on our fund, as well as not have to worry about creating a merchant account for themselves.
Right. And so really, what did you have to do in order to make that happen? I mean, so you set up your campaign, and then those that wanted to have their individual events could just go ahead and utilize the features. Is that right?
Exactly. And you said, what did we have to do? We didn't have to do anything really. The people who organized the events did it on their own. And so the day of, I actually went there so I can help people who were working the cash room, I guess you would say, or the ticket box. I helped them to understand the mobile cost platform because they had never used it before. But once that part was done, they took it over from there, and they were able to process through our website. And so, it really saved a lot of time and headache, because what you'll find is when you have an event of this magnitude, and perhaps even smaller events, you have people in the community that start to work together that don't normally work together. And so when money is involved, the question always becomes, well, who's going to use their merchant account to collect money? Or how are we going to collect money for credit cards? Who's going to set that up? And, a lot of business owners don't want to have that show as revenue in their personal account, so that became a conversation. And the easy solution was mobile calls.
That's fantastic. And so we've got a lot of great questions, and we've got a lot of great content. So I want to ask her one final question for the moment, and then we'll come right back to you, Portia, for the Q&A section. I guess in all of this, is there any big takeaways that you'd like to share with everyone that, that you learned and that you think others can learn from to benefit their community and prepare or take advantage or, just be able to support events like this in their own community?
I would say actually dealing with this particular event, this was actually one of the hardest and most fulfilling, some of the most fulfilling work of my career. And I pray that I never have to facilitate this type of development or meet this fund again. But I would say that everyone that we dealt with, they were very helpful. When it came time for us to figure out what the next steps were, we called around. We called other United Ways that had experienced these type of events in their community. I actually called the Baltimore United Way to get information from them. They did a webinar talking about how they raised money during their riots for their community. And I called that United Way, and I said, hey, I know you did a webinar, and I kind of might have forgot some things you said, but if you can help us guide us through these first few minutes, that would be very helpful. So I would say if you find yourself in a situation where your community is dealing with any kind of issues or events, don't be afraid to reach out to people around you, people who you know have been through this, because more than likely they will be totally open and ready to help you, to give you advice and help you through it. So don't think you have to do it on your own. And mobile calls has been wonderful in helping us to get through this as well. So that would be my biggest takeaway.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much, Portia, for your great insight. And again, everyone, if you have additional questions for Portia, stand by. Please submit those questions via chat. Again, for everyone that may have joined a few minutes late, we are recording this webinar, and we will be sending out a link with the ability to watch, listen, share the recorded version, as well as download the slides. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Liesl Gray-Manon, and her colleague Emily, who are going to talk to us about their experience recently this last December in supporting the Don't Forget to Feed Me pet. And so I'd love to talk to you, Pet Food Bank. They are reaching deserving families who face tough times with much needed pet food. And recently in Dallas and Fort Worth area, they had some recent community experiences that really affected the community there. So welcome, Liesl. Tell us a little bit about what happened recently and how you both handled supporting those in need.
Well, hello. Thank you for having us today. Don't Forget to Feed Me Pet Food Bank was in the middle of our, not in the middle actually, at the tail end of our yearly year-end campaign. We have been with Mobile Cause less than a year, and we're pretty new, like Portia and her group, but we found a lot of very useful tools with Mobile Cause. So we had our end-of-the-year campaign going on, and it runs from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve during everybody's big time for fundraising. when everybody's feeling generous during the holidays. And the Dallas-Fort Worth area is quite large. We're about the size of Connecticut. So for those of you that are out there and not familiar with us, so we are in the kind of southwest corner, and on the day after Christmas, we had a tornado rip through sort of the northeast corner of our large metropolitan area. Many people affected. And that happened on a Saturday evening, and by Sunday morning it was clear that there was an outpouring of requests to do something from those folks and our supporters over here in our Fort Worth side of what we call the Metroplex, our larger metropolitan area. And don't forget, Feed Me already had in place our website, our web form, our text to give for our Cold and Hungry campaign, our end of the year campaign. We already had a drop-down box where people could designate to different programs in our within our organization. And one of those programs is called the Maverick Fund. And the Maverick Fund is specifically for disaster response and relief. We had an existing partnership with the Red Cross. This program has been around, this partnership and this fund has been around for a couple of years now, and people have supported it. And what we took a look at immediately as we began to see people saying, how can I support, how can I help our neighbors in need, and what's going on, on social media there were, pleas about my dog is missing, and I found a dog, and where can we go to get help for our animals, and those type of things. So we wanted to allow an opportunity for our supporters to get involved, and so that's where our Maverick Fund came in with through our mobile cause.
That's terrific, Liesl. Thanks for the background. And I think, a couple of learnings you had, right, when we were speaking about it, that, if you were to do this again, how might you do this in terms of, setting up a separate fund or a separate page, to receive.
Right. Right. We already had that campaign going. Now, if you go to our page now, you'll see our normal, all the time form up, and anybody can give, because all of us will take money any time of year. And it still has that drop-down box where people can designate to that fund. If we had not, it's not going to be a matter of if, it's going to be when, because we all hope that major shooting events don't happen, but we live in Tornado Alley, and a tornado is going to hit again in this part of town, part of the world. It just does. That's why we have a disaster relief fund, because these things happen on a semi-regular basis. So moving forward, what I wish I had done looking back, but moving forward to do the next time, is to stop and take a breath and take the time to go into the mobile cause and set up a campaign that is more clearly specific for the Maverick Fund, for the relief for the folks that have been affected by the tornadoes. Our supporters and the new donors that came on board because of this had that opportunity to choose to designate those funds, and we encouraged people in all of our communication through social media to do so. Designate your donation. Now, there may be people who donate to us that meant for it to go to this particular fund who failed to designate that donation. So we want to give them more opportunity to be very clear that is what they are supporting. What we did, and I agree with Portia, we had to be very, very transparent that these funds are going to this, and we will keep you informed of the progress on it. We didn't set a goal. For us, it was kind of like whoever wants to help, we're going to figure out a way to make this work. Overall, we collected about $6,300 for that, so it's not anywhere close to $1.5 million, but for who we are and what we do, it was a nice amount of money to receive. We had existing Maverick Fund donations from throughout the year, and we were able to pass along 100% of the funds plus some of that were donated from the day of the tornado onward, and some of our existing funds to animal services in the 2 towns that were the hardest hit and that had used up so many of their resources in response.
Fantastic. And now, and Liesl, I know you have Emily on the phone with us as well. And maybe you both could tell us a little bit about how did you handle sort of communications through social media? What's your approach to sort of branding and just authentic communication and getting your message out there? How have you kind of taken with very limited resources, as we've talked about, how have you been able to be effective?
Right. There are 1 full-time employee and 2 part-time here at Don't Forget to Feed Me, and Emily is our part-time volunteer coordinator. We've had some volunteers in the building today, so I'm not sure if Emily's on. Emily, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, she's probably – oh, there you are. Okay. I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about the social media and how those the messages got out.
Okay. Well, what we did was we created some specific graphics for the tornado, telling people that what we were doing, we were taking donations, designate them to the Maverick Fund, and all 100% of the donations given will be given, oh, there it is, will go to the Rowlett Animal Shelter. We ended up giving about half to Rowlett and half to Garland, the 2 communities that were hardest hit. We posted these on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, used hashtags on both Instagram and Twitter because they were trending here in our area, just to let people know what was going on. The images got a little bit of momentum here locally. We had a CBS affiliate retweet us. We had a couple people pick us up on Instagram. We also created a graphic telling people where they can go for information. So people were starting to contact us about, how do I help this dog that I found, or where do I look for my dog? So we created another graphic just to say these are the places you should go if you have lost or found a pet during this crisis. We also had several not super reputable sites pop up as far as helping people. They may have been legit, they may have not, but we were able to provide both a place for people to legitimately donate and to find information about where to go to get resources.
Fantastic, Emily. Thanks. And, maybe you can also back up a little and tell us a little bit about, your overall approach to social media, what you do sort of week in and week out. And again, how on, with limited resources, you've been able to be, pretty darn effective.
Well, thanks for that. We try to focus our social media on because we have a very specific mission, is to keep pets with their families, and that's what we do. That's our goal here, and so we try and use our social media to emphasize that, to post pictures of volunteers helping us here in the warehouse or at their location, food drives that are going on. You can see on the screen here, this is some recent stuff that we've posted, and letting people know how they can help, what they can do, as well as give them information. So it's not just, our social media feeds are not just a plea for money. It's also information, things that are going on, other ways they can help, food drives and things like that. We try and use a lot of engagement and connecting with the community, so people can, if they're here locally, they see us working with other businesses and things like that.
Wonderful. And yeah, how would you say sort of is your ratio to insightful or informational content and fun content and activities going on versus, pleas to give? Like, what's the ratio? How do you approach that?
I try to keep it a loose a third fun, a third information, and a third we need your help. So we get, if speaking on Facebook specifically, you'll see your engagement go up with the fun stuff. And so you'll have more visibility when you do put a plea out there because people are interacting with, you put a cute little quiz or like a fun article, something that is interesting to people but that relates to your mission. That will get people engaged with your social media, and then more people will see when you actually put a plea out there for either money or actual physical items or come help us out, something like that.
Fantastic. And now here back to you, Liesl. I guess the question is, how do you sort of in all of this, in terms of you, again, hopefully we won't have, sort of the disaster on the scale that you mentioned, but again, it is Tornado Alley. There may be other things that are occurring, but how do you sort of look for other needs in the community to fill, and how can you sort of recommend to those that are listening, to identify places, and, what guidelines should they apply to kind of look for, opportunities to support the community beyond just sort of an obvious disaster?
Right. I think that the number one thing is to stay true to the mission of your organization. It's very easy to start to get pulled in all kinds of different directions. In animal welfare, there are rescuing and adopting and spaying and neutering, and there's all kinds of things that can pull us very easily away from our mission of keeping pets and their families by providing the pet food that's necessary. We have a lot of organizations that do those other things, and we're going to let them do those other things. And so being mission-focused is number one. And then within the mission, seeing where there are specific needs in that mission. If you'll go, let's see, you said I could advance. There you go. Home Not Alone is a program where we reach out specifically to the senior citizen population, and we partnered with the senior citizens services of our county to reach into that senior population. Another way you can think about this is if you've got your mission, you're looking at the different populations your mission serves, but then you can think about who else is already serving those populations. Where is there an opportunity for partnership? Maverick Fund was already set up when I came on staff and earmarked for disaster relief, but the money had been sitting there swirling around because they didn't really know how to get it out there, how to identify families. And I said, well, the Red Cross is around the corner, and they kind of know when there's families in crisis. So we approached them, and they just have loved having these resources available to their clients, because the Red Cross cannot spend money on pets because that's not their mission statement. So being able to partner with us where we can use this earmarked fund to reach out to their clients has been wonderful. I mean, and for us to be able to say we have a partnership with Red Cross is huge. For our little tiny organization to be associated with this international, giant has been a real boon for us. It's caused people to stop and take notice of us. And even with Home Not Alone, we're partnering with the senior centers. We also partner with some of the outlying counties' Meals on Wheels programs. So we're looking at established partners that are serving these populations that we want to reach. So we're not going outside of our mission, but we're finding that those populations through established organizations. And, for smaller organizations in small towns or even in large places, it doesn't have to be the Red Cross or even the United Way or any of the folks that are really well known. If it's just another, if it's a church in town that's doing something that's a ministry they have, and that applies to your mission, and there's somewhere that you can partner, then that lends credibility. I had seen that someone earlier had asked about, how can I get people to know that we're legit? I think partnering with people that are already respected and known in the community goes a long way. because if those folks are staying true to their mission, they're not able to meet every need of everybody either. And so for us, we have to stay true to our mission. We have to engage our supporters and our potential supporters in the idea that what we do is an important piece of in our case, animal welfare, because, we call ourselves Don't Forget to Feed Me. You can rescue me and adopt me and spay me and neuter me and all of that, but if you don't feed me, I'm going to be out on the streets again. And with the specific things that pop up in just day-to-day life in a neighborhood, in a community that are needs, it may not be a mass shooting or whole neighborhoods being wiped out by a tornado, but there can be something that is a need that's sitting there that your organization is uniquely qualified to fulfill, and that's when you can step up and do that. In our online communications, Emily has been absolutely wonderful in telling our story, in sharing the story of our clients, our volunteers, what we do and why we do it, and it's really, engaging to people and unique. Does that pretty much answer
That's fantastic.
answer all that question?
Yes, thank you so much. Wonderful. And so I think it's important to point out to everyone as well that's attending, this particular webinar is on this particular use case of, rapid response fundraising. And the purpose is to show you that there are needs in the community. They could be disasters. But there could be other needs in the community, and the purpose of the webinar is to demonstrate that you can rapidly respond to those needs using a solution like Mobile Cause in order to quickly facilitate giving to support a community need. We do have a lot of other webinars on other topics of crowdfunding that I recommend everyone attending today review. Those are available at mobilecause.com/resources. And we'll get to some other specific questions shortly. So next, I'd like to kind of transition quickly over to back to Jeremy, who again is going to talk to us specifically about how you can use Mobile Cause, how it can work, and again, hopefully shed some light on what I was just talking about, that it's not just for an emergency. There is quite a bit more that can be done. And back to you, Jeremy.
Great. Great. Thank you, Liesl. Emily and Portia, you guys are an inspiration. You do fundraising and communication very well. In the spirit of a new year and new technology and reaching new donors and gaining new recurring gifts, we wanted to put together a mission-critical checklist for reaching your goals this year. Just to review what I presented at the top, really setting yourself up for success is absolutely about having great branding, really being able to tell your story, making it easy to give, and making it easy to advocate. And then once you do that, we believe that if you follow this checklist that I'm about to review, you will absolutely reach your goals. While preparation and strategic planning are essential, it is even more important that you take the steps needed to promote and advocate your campaign until the goal is reached. To reach goals, you must effectively promote your campaign across all channels while recognizing participants and communicating progress along the way. So here's the checklist. Let's go ahead and go through it. First of all, it's very, very important to promote mobile-friendly secure donation pages with short links. You want to do this because half of your traffic, half of the people that want to give to your organization, the primary way that they see your content is on their smartphone. And so it's very, very important that email, text messages, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, Google advertising, and press releases all have links to mobile responsive websites that are secure. It is absolutely easy for anyone on the call to implement a big donate button on the top of their website that links to this type of a page, and then you can correspondingly create short links to drive traffic to that site, and then you can track click-through performance. Secondly, you want to make sure that people they know how to give on your website, and your call to action, specifically on print and direct mail, television and radio, is go to my website, whatever your URL is, and click the donate button and give. And again, it's very important that when they do that, it immediately opens a secure mobile-friendly donation page. The design of that page is very important. Does it reinforce the intention of the gift? Does it inspire the person to give more? Does it inspire the person to set up a recurring donation? Is there a link to an incredible video? Does it tell them about automatic tax receipts and text notifications? Those things are all very important. At Mobile Cause, our mission is to make that as easy as possible so that every single nonprofit on day one can start receiving more donations on their website. Third, on the checklist, I believe all of you on the call have some type of events. We have found over the last 4 years that when you make it easy for people to make pledges that are attending events, are out of towners, they're not able to make events, or they're just people that hand you checks or cash or corporate gifts or matching funds, being able to show those live on screen inspires people to give more. What it actually does, in my own words, is it takes that awkward moment of asking for money and it turns it into the most exciting point of the event. When a specific example would be when you have my heart and my mind and my tears wrapped around your story, and those images and videos they're just in my head. Now it is so important that you make it as easy as possible to give, and we believe the easiest way for people to donate and fulfill pledges is by sending a text message and then clicking a link to a mobile-friendly form. Next, it is very, very important that you display totals on your website and promote campaign progress until it is reached. There are a lot of solutions out there, a lot of third-party non-mobile cost solutions in which you can tally up all your donations and show them on your website. Your encouragement of volunteers, your encouragement of volunteer fundraisers, your encouragement of your staff should all be based on how your campaign is doing, and having a very specific plan to keep each one of your advocates excited, passionate, prepared to go out and promote and share and raise money from friends and family and spread the word is paramount to reaching your goals. That's the checklist. I would really encourage all of you to make sure you set up all your campaigns with those 4 essentials and then follow that checklist to be successful in all your campaigns this year. The truth of the matter is that you could run 1 campaign a month, and if you follow these basic steps and you equip yourself with mobile cause solutions, you will be successful in all your fundraising endeavors. I'd like to take 2 minutes and briefly talk about why I believe that every organization that's on this call and that's going to be listening to the recording should absolutely invest in a mobile cause account to kick off 2016. And for all of you on the call that are already customers, why you should implement new solutions this year for increased and new channels of revenue. All right, so here are the top 5 reasons why our customers say organizations should invest in mobile cause. Okay, the first one is you will instantaneously increase giving on your website by 38%. This is because people are going to be able to find your donation page, and they're going to be able to fill out your donation page easily, as well as that donation page is going to reinforce the intention of the gift. And they're going to be able to do it from a PC, smartphone, or tablet. Very, very convenient. The second reason is that you will be able to increase donations at events 35%. These percentages here are actually averages across all of our customers, but they are good benchmarks to base your decisions off of. And so specifically, you raise more money at events because there is no easier way to make a pledge and show real-time results than our mobile pledging and fundraising thermometer solutions. I'd also like to add to that, it's very easy to get people to sign up using our RSVP forms and to make donations when they can attend events. And this, again, increases overall revenues from events. Number 3, we want everyone in this country that raises money to implement crowdfunding to gain 62% new donors. For all of your constituents that are under the age of 35, crowdfunding is absolutely the preferred way to give and participate. And so similar to the ways that our speakers today have implemented crowdfunding, I think it's just incredibly important to be ready and to layer in crowdfunding on top of all your campaigns throughout the year, because you recognize that the new donors are there, they're excited, they're generous, they want to give, and they just need an avenue to be able to do that. Number 4, mobile-friendly online forums are becoming increasingly important. We want to help you increase participation at events and for volunteer opportunities and petitions and surveys and anything that you can think of that helps your organization operate more in a more healthy way by 38%. The 38% number is based on the fact that when people can quickly and easily fill out forms on a mobile phone across all devices, it's a 38% higher completion rate. Lastly, number 5, we want to increase response rates for all your campaigns across the board with text message reminders. Sending text messages can be a little nerve-wracking for some nonprofits. For others, they love it and they depend on it for their primary mechanism of keeping their donors engaged and in touch. Some of the real-time statistics that I will share with you from the things that we've learned is that when you send text messages to mobile subscribers, you actually increase response rates by 50% on average, which is amazing. So specifically on this webinar, for example, I sent out a 25-minute reminder that the webinar was going to start, and then I also sent a corresponding text message that says the same exact message with the same exact link. Amazingly, again and again and again, it is a 50% increase in the people that show up to these webinars. Lastly, before we get into questions, I just want to say a couple of high-level things. Mobile Cause has all these great demos, segment-specific demos available on our website. If you just go and click on examples, you can go see all these specific examples we've talking about specifically for your segment, and you can click and see and try and show to your staff and team. And lastly, it's very important to know that Mobile Cause is committed to helping you fundraise at the lowest cost possible. We charge an industry-leading flat 2.5% credit card processing fee and no transaction fees. We don't make any money on your donations, and that's the way that we want it. And we want you to have the confidence to say to your donors, the most amount of money possible that you give with your credit card is going directly to the cause. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, and we've got quite a bit of time here to answer all of your questions, so keep them coming.
Thanks, Jeremy. Terrific. And again, everyone, if you have additional questions, feel free to submit them here in the chat. And if you do have specific questions related to what Jeremy just presented, specifically about Mobile Cause, the platform, we have a fantastic sales team, of course, and customer success. They're meant and driven to help you get success out of the platform and success with your specific goals and fundraising, even with a super small team. So I'd encourage everyone to reach out, connect with us, talk to us, get help, get the answers that you need. So back to our speakers. Thanks for everybody's patience. But Portia, back to you. What's sort of next? Where do you see things going, both with this specific fund and, maybe some of the other ways in which you might use Mobile Cause this year?
I think, what I see next is we are still receiving donations from people and companies on a daily basis. So we will more than likely continue to let this option be available to those who want to donate. As mentioned earlier, there's still a lot of people who like to mail in checks and, make phone calls as far as doing their donations. And we accept that as well because we know, that makes some more comfortable. But I would say we probably will continue to use Mobile Cause platform for our future fundraising and, see how we can even make it more successful for other programs we do in-house. I mean, perhaps we will not raise, $1.5 million for a book drive, but I think we'll be able to use this program successfully for things we do in the future because now our community in general knows about Mobile Cause and about this opportunity to fundraise via text message and the online platform. So the next time we do something on our own, I think it'll be less of a learning curve or a barrier for those who want to support Arrowhead United Way.
Fantastic. And here's a question for you, Liesl. In terms of, we talked a bit about this in terms of the trust factor, right? What do you recommend to organizations, that are small, that, don't have a nationally recognized name, such as the United Way? what steps can people do to both, encourage trust at the giving stage and in the community?
I think for us, the transition from a very common online accept credit card program, which I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the name of it, but that anyone, anytime, anywhere is able to set up, to Mobile Cause, which is a dedicated program for fundraising for organizations, added some legitimacy to our fundraising. I think that especially in a rapid response situation where you've got something going on right now, whether it's a tragedy or something else in your community, anybody can go set up one of those online things and take money. And it doesn't they don't have to prove to anybody that they're anything. They can just set it up and start telling people, "Hey, give me money." I think a lot of people feel more comfortable giving to us, and we, excuse me, and it sort of upmarketed us when we decided to go with Mobile Cause. Gave us many more options, things that we haven't really had a chance to explore as much as we're going to in the coming year. The crowdfunding, we've used text to give. We've used some of the crowdfunding, haven't had as much success with it as I believe we can when we do some more promotion of crowdfunding for our different specified fundraisers through the year. But I think that for our organization that wants to show that they can be trusted and show that they're not sort of fly-by-night, being a part of an organization or part of a platform like Mobile Cause specifically here, is very important. I think it goes a long way to show people that you're legitimate.
And tell us a little bit about, remind everybody how big you are, right? I mean, you don't have to be a large, nonprofit in order to do the things that we're talking about here today, right?
Exactly. We are, our yearly budget last year was $264,000, I believe, $246,000, excuse me. And we have one employee at full-time and two part-time. So we're a pretty small organization. We've been around for 7 years, but I think that at any size, any credit card processing is going to cost a fee through any platform, and you guys have a good price on that, especially for all of the benefits that come with it. It's easy to use. There are people that can help anytime if you get stuck on something, and there's almost limitless opportunities for fundraising and different programs with it.
And now over to you, Jeremy. Just to follow up on the same line of thinking, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, sort of the range of nonprofits using Mobile Cause, and just to reiterate the fact that you don't have to be a large organization to take advantage and increase your overall, donor count as well as your overall fundraising goals.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I just wanted to emphasize that we work with the largest organizations in the world down to 1 to 2 person staff nonprofits. We specifically have a national contract with United Way. We have a national contract with Salvation Army, and we are continuing to develop national level relationships with nonprofits all across America. And specifically, the challenges that are posed to small and large, we have solutions for. So specifically, if you have a huge content management system and donor database, our system is able to relatively easily integrate with your CRM. If you are a small nonprofit and you don't have a CRM, our database absolutely is an incredible way to build that database of information that you can use to engage your community with future campaigns. And so just again, to reiterate, our plans start at with annual investments as low as $300 a month, and they go all the way up to $1,500 a month. based on the needs of your organization, how many donors you have, how many messages you need to send, how many campaigns you're going to run. And so please, please, please reach out to a Mobile Cause sales representative, and they'll actually create campaigns for you where you can see your own logo and branding and colors right there on a page, and you can and try out those links and those keywords for yourself and show them to your team.
Awesome, Jeremy. Well, we've come to the end of our session time here, and I want to thank everybody for their participation. And I want to make sure that everyone, again, sees the value. We've been answering in chat, our team of, really answering specific questions. I think that there's a lot more than just a technology platform that you get working with Mobile Cause. We have, fantastic, experts such as Jeremy, a number of others in our customer success team, that are available to help you in your specific instances get the most out of it. How do you get people to respond to giving campaigns? How do you build a database if you're just starting out? Up to, on the higher end, how do we integrate? Which platforms do we integrate with? So again, I just to reiterate, we will be sending out a link to review this webinar so you can share it with all of your colleagues as well as download the presentation. Please do stay tuned for invites for our next webinar. And if there are specific topics you'd like us to cover, please do let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And again, I want to thank all of our terrific speakers today, Portia Nichols-McCoy, Liesl Gray-Manone, and Emily Jackson, as well as my colleague Jeremy Koenig. And if you have specific questions about Mobile Cause and the platform, please do give us a call at 888-661-8804 or visit us on the web at mobilecause.com/demo. Again, thank you all for joining us today. Have a terrific day.